Hello and welcome to the Edupedia world. So in this tutorial, we'll continue with the part 3 of file IO and streams. So far we have covered what are binary text files, what are text files, what are streams, buffering, we have seen print writer, file output stream, we have done a program for writing the file, appending the file, then we have studied how to read a file, and from this tutorial we'll start doing a practical for reading from a file. Okay guys, so let's begin. So guys, this is a program that we studied in our previous tutorial, and in this tutorial let's try to create a similar program on our own. So let's open our Eclipse IDE. I have opened my Eclipse IDE, and here in the same package which I created in my previous video, which was src.com.java.file.io, let me create a new class and let me give the name as file read. Fine, simple enough. Now let's try to read the file. Let's try to take the name from user, like what's the file that user wanted. So for that, let's create a scanner object and use system.in, and let me import Java util for scanner. Now let's read file name. So user will provide us the file name that we want to actually read. After we have got this file name, let's try to read this file. Now to read this file, we need an object of buffered reader. Fine. Let me import java.io class for buffered reader. Try to read it. So you see it's automatically giving me which constructor you want to use out of these. Okay, so I can use any of the constructor. For the buffer reader, I can simply take a reader object. So let's do that. So I have used file reader and now import file reader also. So you see over here it's giving an error. It's let me first correct this one. Okay, now you see this is giving me an error, and the reason it's saying is either to surround with, try catch, or add throws. As I have told you that you need to at least handle file not found exception. So once we have done that, so we have got our buffered reader. Now to read from buffered reader, there are different methods. Let's see. So the first one it is saying is read line. So let's try the read line method to read the complete line, and let me store it in a variable called as line. So line will store whatever we are getting from buffer reader read line, and you can see now again it wants to throw a checked exception. So let's handle that one also. So you see it's throwing a IO exception, the buffer.read line. So what I want, rather, just we can even keep it that way, but we can also keep this catch IO exception below file not found exception. Why so? Because it might be possible that we want to add some more lines and they also might throw IO exception. So instead of limiting it to this line, let's keep it generified and keep it below file not found. Why below file not found? Because if file not found occurs, we want to handle it separately, not with IO. Okay, so we have read the line. Now let's print this line. So this is the line that we have read and we want to print. Now which is the file that I want to read? Well, let's read the same file which we have created in our previous example. So firstly let's try to run that. We run that, it will ask us the input. Now we have to enter the input. So let me enter the input. So you see I'm entering my file. First of all, let me show you with the wrong file. So I have gone to the desktop location and let me pass like any random file name. So you see if I do that and that file is not present, it gives me an exception which is file not found because I have handled it correctly over here. Okay, now let me try to rerun it with the correct file name. So if I rerun it with the correct file name, and this time let me pass my file name, which is output.txt. So that was the file that we actually created in our previous example. So let's see what will be the output with that. So you see it has printed I am running it for the second time. Why so? Because we have just printed a single line from it. Although it contained 3 lines. Remember, we have written 3 lines. So, but it is just printing a single line because we are printing that. What if we want to print the entire file? So for that we can use the loop. So let's use a while loop. So now you see it has printed our all 3 lines, and we have rather used a do while loop. So with the do while loop, what we are doing is we are reading the line and then we are actually checking. So when line becomes null, it has to stop. But since we are using do while and then we are also printing before that, that's why it also printed null. So instead of do while, if we just use while loop, then it won't print null. Fine in the end. So this is how you can read the entire file. Fine guys. So this was the program to read the file. So I hope this is quite clear. And again, see, the thing that we are missing in this program is closing. So again, we need to add finally, and let's close the buffered read object, that is buffer reader object. Okay. So you see, if I'm doing it finally, I also need to add a try catch, because this close operation could also give me an IO exception. Why so? Because it could be possible that someone has already closed it, or it is never opened, or something like that. Okay, so in that case, why it is never opened? Because if the file is not found, then definitely it won't ever get opened. Then in finally block also we need to handle it with try catch. So now if I rerun it, it will give me the same output for this. Okay, so let's move back to our PPT. Okay, so the next topic is Exception.getMessage. So you see in the previous example we were using, although we are not using over here, but we should use e.getMessage. That is, we have to actually print the stack trace. So this is really important to do that, because we should actually know the exception, because it could have happened that file not found is coming, but according to us the file is present. Then we should know that what is the actual exception and why it is occurred. To know that, we should know the print stack, and that can be done by using e.getMessage. So it will actually print the complete exception in your console. Okay. Now reading words in a string. How to read the words in a string. So there's a class known as StringTokenizer class that can be used to do that. How that will be used? Well, there are buffered reader methods to read a line and a character, but not just a single word. Well, definitely we can read entire line. We can even read the character by using read method. But what if we want to just read entire word? I mean word to word we want to read. For that we have StringTokenizer. So StringTokenizer can be used to parse the line into words. Again, it is in Java util package, and it is having, this class is having some of the very useful methods which are shown in the text. So let's see like the example. So you can specify delimiters, that is the characters or the characters that separate the words. That can be white space, comma, etc., new line. Okay, so the default delimiters are definitely white spaces, tab, new lines. Okay, so you can specify from which delimiter you want to separate. Maybe you want to, tokenize your words on the basis of comma, then you can specify that also in StringTokenizer. So let's see how it works. Well, so you can see this program where we are displaying the word separated by any of the following characters. So if there is a space, then we have to separate it. If there is a new line, then again we have to separate it. If there is a dot, then again that means it's a new word. We have to separate it. And again, if there is a comma, then treat it as a new word and print it. Okay. So how can we do that? So you can see that over here we have taken some of our input from user. So over here you can see we are just taking a simple input, which could be anything, any line that user wants to enter. After that, we are creating an object of StringTokenizer, and the word is word finder. This is like just a name given. And in that, we have to pass two things. First of all, the line that we want to separate through the StringTokenizer, and then are all the delimiters. So we have specified a space, then the next line, then dot and comma. So we have specified all four. So second argument is a string of 4 delimiters. So if any of these will occur, that means it has to separate those words. So after that, what we are doing is we are doing while word finder has more tokens, it keeps on doing next token. So that means it will separate each word and it will treat each word as a token. And if there are more tokens found, then it will keep on printing those tokens using next token. So next token will give a new token and system.out.println will print that token. So for example, we have entered a line questions, comma, to be, then dot, or, then not operator, to be, and then again dot. Fine. So this is the input. What will be the output? Well, output will be this. So you see we are having questions as separate, then we are having to be, then or, and then not to be. Fine. So this is what we are having over here. So now testing for end of file in a text file. When readline tries to read beyond the end of text file, it returns the special value null. So you can test for null on stop processing a text file. And read returns -1 when it tries to read beyond the end of text file. Okay. So like if you have to check read line, then you should use null as we have used in our example. If you are using character by character, if you are using read method, then you should match the value to -1 to check for the end of file. Neither of these two methods, read or readline, will throw end of exception, that is EOF exception. So EOF exception occurs when the end of file happens. So neither of these two methods will throw that exception. Okay. So what is end of file exception? Well, this is an exception that occurs if you keep on reading a file got completed but still you are reading it. So you see in this code we are having a count 0 and then we are reading it using input stream.readline. And then we are doing while line is not equals to null. Then we are increasing the count for each line and then we are printing that line again and again by using readline. So when using readline, we need to test for null. Okay, so we are actually checking the condition while line is not equals to null. Okay, and when we do use read instead of readline, then we can use -1. Okay, that means when line is not equals to -1, will tell us whether the end of file has occurred or not. Fine. Now this is an example. So this is like just a normal file kept in some package. So the path which you give depends how you want to give. Well, the path can be a relative path or absolute path. Okay, so relative path gives the path starting with the directory that program is in. Like, if your program is already in, let's say, C drive, then you do not include C drive. You can give the relative path. Otherwise, you can even give the absolute path which is starting from your My Computer drives. Okay. And in Windows, you should always include double slashes because single slash typically won't work in the Windows. Java will accept path name in Unix or the Windows format regardless of whether operating system is actually running on it. Fine. So this is how Java will accept it. Now we do have file class. So we'll start with the file class from next video because it is again a big topic and I do not want to start it in between. So let's finish our this video and let's start file with the next video. Okay guys, so this was about reading from a file. So we have done example, we have seen how we can read the entire file using read and read line. We have seen what is end of file exception, and we have also seen about string tokenizer. Okay guys, so this was about this video. Let's meet in the next video. Thank you.